Just hours after making a chilling Facebook video, officials say a man in Maine shot and killed his parents, 2 family friends, and injured 3 others.
Why can't you just try to take it slow, try to get to know the person again? What good's it do to hate somebody?
The case already gaining national attention as the suspect, 34-year-old Joseph Eaton, was released from prison just 4 days before the killing spree.
They turn around and claim to be Christian. And you can't forgive somebody or understand what they go through. You can't give someone a second chance. But you say you're Christian. How does that make sense?
Officials say Eaton was released from Windham Correctional Facility in Windham, Maine on April 14th after serving 2 years for probation revocation. Officials with the Maine Department of Corrections say he was charged with aggravated assault. At the time of his release, Eaton was picked up by his mother, 62-year-old Cynthia Eaton. For the next several days, Eaton stayed with her and his father, 66-year-old David Eaton.
You know, I know I'm good for my kids, and I just wish someone would forgive me. You know, some people, I don't get it.
But just before 9:30 in the morning on April 18th, investigators were called to a home in Bowdoin, Maine, where 4 people were found shot to death. Eaton's mother, Cynthia, and 2 family friends, 72-year-old Robert Eager and 62-year-old Patricia Eager, were found dead in the home. The suspect's father, David, was found dead inside a barn. Officials later ruled their deaths homicides. About 30 minutes later, separate emergency calls came in for a shooting in nearby Yarmouth, Maine. Officials say Eaton opened fire at a vehicle, striking 51-year-old Sean Halsey and his children Justin and Paige Halsey. All 3 were taken to the hospital, but Paige remains in critical condition. Maine State Police say Eaton confessed to the quadruple homicide. He's since been charged with 4 counts of murder.
Here, with this tragic situation, I think we're talking about 3 important issues.
Catherine Lizardo, lawyer and founder of ADHD Life Simplified, says there are multiple factors to consider in Eaton's case.
1 is the mental health awareness issue, 2 is the gun violence issue, and 3 is the domestic violence issue. And I use the term domestic violence because that applies to family members killing another family members. And I read statistics about Maine where in just the 4 months in 2023, they already had about 13 homicides, 7 of which are domestic violence related, which includes family members killing family members or domestic partners. So that's a big rise happening right now. So the warning signs are there, and we just need to know what resources we can use to help people and their family members. Actually, the Maine, in Maine right now, there's a big push to give people awareness about this domestic violence rise.
Lizardo cites a report made by the Bangor Daily News that shows domestic violence homicides accounted for 52% of all Maine homicides in both 2021 and 2022, based on data from the Maine State Police. Only 4 months into 2023, domestic violence homicides already account for 53% of this year's total number of murders in the state. Lizardo says the Eaton case adds to those statistics and that a mental health issue could have contributed to the crimes.
Just need to try to forgive me for the things I did.
I'm not a professional medical psychological expert, but at first blush, it sounds like it's a cry for help with his mental health issues. And so the question is, was he of sound mind when he committed those crimes and even when he confessed? Because one thing too to keep in mind is he not only killed 4 people, his parents and 2 of his parents' friends, but he also shot, I think 3 or 4 other people on the road when he was fleeing the scene, thinking that they were police following him, when in fact they were just civilians. So what was happening in his mind at that time?
Eaton made his first court appearance on April 20th, where a judge already ordered a mental health evaluation.
And after the bail hearing, he was already, the judge already ordered for his mental psych evaluation. So we already know that that's being thought of and it's now in place. So yes, mental health awareness, as you know, I'm a big advocate of that. Especially in the legal field and in society in general. And the judge has indeed ordered that. So we can see whether or not that will be a defense for him.
Lizardo theorizes that a mental health defense could be in the works for Eaton's team.
Right now, the judge just wants at least the first step of a mental health evaluation to see if he's even competent to probably stand to be in court for his indictment, and if he could plea, because during the indictment is when he pleads guilty, not guilty, or guilty by reason of insanity.
The same day Eaton appeared in court, officials released a police affidavit in the case, revealing there was an unsigned letter left behind at the scene, referencing someone had been molested and nothing was done about it. The letter went on to say the writer wanted to be free from pain. This echoed a similar statement that Eaton made in his Facebook video.
I've been dealing with trauma for a long time on things I don't talk to people about. Being molested and stuff, you know, it destroys somebody. You know I'm good for my kids, and I just wish someone would forgive me, you know. Some people, I don't get it.
The affidavit also reveals that it was victim Patricia Eager's sister who discovered the murder scene. According to court documents, she first noticed blood on the home's front steps, later finding broken glass and blood spatter on the floor inside. She eventually discovered a body in the kitchen and multiple weapons. While Eaton confessed to the murders, Lizardo says that confession will be thoroughly reviewed.
Was he Mirandized? Was he of the sound mind when it was, you know, when he confessed? Did he confess willingly? The usual procedural issues that we see when a defendant or a suspect confesses.
As Eaton's confession comes into question, some wonder whether there could have been warning signs for the grisly crime.
I think there are warning signs in general that society and his family and his community could have looked into. Now, whether or not those are warning signs that people in prison or the prison officers or anyone in the correctional facilities would have to look at, that's a very difficult question, because our prison system is not designed to look for those warning signs. That's not what the prison is. Although there are studies showing that a lot of the people in the prison system do have warning signs. And I think when we say warning signs, we're talking about possible mental health issues.
While Eaton's mental health status may now be under question, Lizardo says there is no question why he was released from prison on April 14th. He completed his entire sentence.
My understanding is, yeah, he did serve his time. It's at the end of his sentence, and unless there were other circumstances that they could have held him in prison, I highly doubt that there could be any civil or criminal lawsuit involved here.
Before the quadruple murders, Eaton already had a lengthy criminal history dating back to 2008. Prior to his arrest in Maine, Eaton was charged and convicted in both Kansas and Florida for burglary and wrongful possession of a firearm. In 2021, he was convicted in Maine on assault charges. That criminal record would prohibit Eaton from legally owning a weapon. Still, Lizardo says legally, he was required to be released on April 14th.
As you can see, there's a lot of crimes that were on top of each other, but he was at the end of his sentence. So that's really critical, because that means that they could not hold him any longer. He served his time according to his sentence, and they had to let him go.
So far, Eaton has not entered a plea in this case. He's being held without bond and is due back in court on June 28th. Reporting for Law&Crime Network, I'm Sierra Gillespie.